Somebody says, Dr. Boyce, where do you get this information? That's a great question, brother. I just read, man. I just go to the internet and gather stuff. And what I have found, my friend, is that my doctorate, it's not so much that the PhD, it does give me a lot of extra facts and information most people don't know. Let's not pretend like it doesn't. I mean, like I said, you study something for 13 years, it's gonna fill your brain up with a lot of random information that you don't even know is there. But what I have found that has been the most beneficial through the years is having the ability to see the same thing everybody else sees, but have a completely different interpretation. That's what the PhD is really giving me, is not so much the ability to retain information. Like even memorizing stuff, I'm not that great at memorizing things, but I'm extremely good at understanding and analyzing things. I'm very good at kind of chopping it down into, to a molecular level, letting my subconscious mind connect it to other things that I've seen, and kind of coming out and processing it in a way that when I spit back out at you what I just saw, I'm giving you an insight into it that adds value, I hope, to what you might already be thinking, So, so anyway, give me 1 second here. So, what I want to do, I'm doing one more thing. I'm going live on my Facebook page just for fun. Okay. So what I want to do is go through this article with you, and I see some of y'all popping in on YouTube as well. What's happening? Take 1 second. I'm not going to be able to stay as long as I want to because I have so much other shit I have to do today. I'm the cussing professor sometimes. I guess I don't know. I can't apologize for it too much, but I have a lot of things I have to do. I just got to Philadelphia last night, literally like after midnight, and I decided to. I actually did intellectual chocolate last night, and that was a lot of fun. The recording of the show is on YouTube. If you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dr. Boyce Watkins, you can actually check it out. Also, if you haven't subscribed to Intellectual Chocolate, you can subscribe at intellectualchocolate.com. That's intellectualchocolate.com. What's up, James Ballantyne? How you doing? Also, if you want a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. And then finally, don't forget the All Black National Convention is September 29th. The All Black National Convention is going down in Louisville, Kentucky, September 29th through October 1st. The tickets will go on sale very, very soon. I'm very, very proud of the All Black National Convention because this is ours. It's all black, all us. That's it. No corporate sponsorship, no government money, no money from the Democratic Party or whatever. Nobody kind of coming in and kind of undermining everything, kind of what you see with the Congressional Black Caucus and stuff like that. No disrespect per se, but I don't think you're going to have black liberation brought to you by McDonald's. And so I take great pride in the fact that the convention is something that's sponsored by black people. Last year, when we did the first one, I just said, I'm going to take my money. I didn't have much money to work with, but I said, I'm going to take my money. I'm going to sponsor a convention for black people who are just kind of tired of the BS, who don't want to be, who don't want to go to the NAACP convention anymore or at all. Those who don't want to go to the Congressional Black Caucus convention at all, or those who even can't really fit into the Urban League. This is something for black people that want to build. The mindset, the condition is that you either have to be a builder or you want to be a builder. Builders what that means is that the ideology is do for self. It doesn't mean you don't fight for reparations. It doesn't mean you don't fight, vote for the politician that you like. That's totally fine. But at the end of the day, we've sort of agreed that it's not going to really be to our benefit to wait for white people to come and save us. It's not going to be to our benefit to wait for the government. It doesn't mean that we don't deserve it. It doesn't mean we're not going to demand it. If they're knocking on our door and want to talk to us, we'll tell them what we want. And we'll talk to anybody. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with meeting with any politician or president or whatever, as long as they're saying something that makes sense. So, for example, if somebody from the Trump administration called and said, "Hey, Dr. Boyce, we want to make $1 billion in loans available to the Black community," and everything looked like it was on the up and up, then yeah, I would sit down and have a conversation. As long as what you're doing is for real, like, because the thing is, remember Malcolm X, whose birthday, by the way, happy birthday, Malcolm. Don't forget, this is an important, the most important national holiday that there is, more important than President's Day and all that other shit. Today's Malcolm X's birthday. So make sure you go to your Facebook page right after we're done or right now and just type happy birthday, Malcolm X, or today's Malcolm X Day. Because we are now in a position where we're going to establish our own national holidays. Do not let other people tell you what the national holiday is supposed to be. I don't give a fuck about President's Day. I certainly don't give a damn about Columbus Day. I care about Malcolm X Day far more than any of that. And in my opinion, you should too. But then again, I can't tell you what to do. I'm not in the business of telling anybody what to do. I don't tell you what to think. I just encourage you to think for yourself. So if you agree, if you are compelled to do so, don't just think it. Don't just feel it. Don't just say, well, I agree. That's wonderful, but I want you to go and engage in some kind of action that is consistent with how you feel. You know, that's what challenge we have as Black people, is that we will talk and we will feel and we get emotional. And sometimes your emotions can make you feel like you've actually done something, but that's not the same as actually doing something. So Malcolm X Day, let's make baby steps, very basic baby steps. Just on your Facebook page or on your Instagram or on your YouTube, whatever it is. If you've got a YouTube channel, do a little video. I just want to say that that this is Malcolm X Day, and I'm really happy that that we're celebrating Malcolm, and I think every year we should celebrate his birthday. Just say that, then you're going to influence that. Maybe it'll be 10 people, maybe it'll be 50 people, maybe it'll be 100, maybe it'll be 1,000. Some of y'all got big platforms. Those of you who have big platforms, and a few smart people that have, a few people that have gigantic platforms also watch our podcast. Make sure you use a platform that's, to change the world. I was talking yesterday, and I know I'm gonna get back to this Cardinal thing. I'm so sorry, guys. Y'all know me. I just share what's on my mind. And I was talking yesterday to Willie D from the Ghetto Boys, and I love talking to Willie. In fact, I'm gonna bring him back on my channel soon. He texted me this morning, and we talked the other day, and he was like, he was saying. He got that country voice, Willie D, back when he used to rap with the Ghetto Boys, he always had that like country thing. And so he was like, boys, he said, I don't understand how the fuck you gonna tell me that you empowering me when you telling me I ain't got no goddamn power? How am I gonna be empowered when you telling me that I ain't got no power? Let me remind you, let me tell you all the reasons you ain't got no power. Let me tell you all the reasons why you can't do nothing for yourself. Talking to him is hilarious. And I respect him because I respect Black men who are just men. You know what I mean? Brothers who just are like, I'm a man and I'm gonna fight back. I'm gonna be strong. And that's probably that was the bond that Dame Dash and I had as well. Dame is he's eccentric. He's his own guy. He's a little different, but he was very he's a very strong man, and I respect that. Willie D, another strong guy, and I think that in general we need to promote the strong Black men. Malcolm X was the ultimate strong Black man. I mean, he's immortalized. He's on a level none of us can ever touch, and I think it's very important that we celebrate those men so our little boys know what a man looks like. Because right now on TV, they're celebrating the feminine men. They got the men wearing rompers and Spanx and panties and shit on TV and wigs and dresses and everything else. And those are the men that are going to get the spotlight from white America. But and it's okay. I mean, if a man want to wear panties or if a man, is feminine, that's fine. I mean, you can be who you want to be. But the problem is the imbalance, the disproportionate nature of what they're promoting versus what they're overlooking. I don't really think the mainstream media is really going to talk much about, a guy like a Willie D. But I will, I don't think the mainstream media is going to talk about a guy like a Tariq Nasheed, who made Hidden Colors. But I will. I was in Hidden Colors 4. And I'll tell you what, I was very happy to be in Tariq's movie. I have a lot of respect for him. And the funny thing was that I did the documentary, and I didn't expect any money for it. I just sat down and was like, okay, let me, sure, absolutely. It'd be an honor to help you out. And we did it. And when we got done, Tariq just just because he felt like he wrote me a little check for about $500 or something like that. And I was like, oh man, you don't have to do this. He's like, no, I'll take it. Now, of course, somebody could say, yeah, Tariq made all this money off the movie or whatever, but actually I felt excited to be a part of the project, to support the brother. Also, I felt that, sometimes when you work together, you do trades, like, so I help you out, maybe you'll help me out one day, you owe me a favor, etc. But it's sort of like, I think in general, the development of your own economy around you, and this will lead us back to the conversation we started today. Having an economy around you is a way you can build your own Black Wall Street. That's what we are missing sometimes when we think about a Black Wall Street. We're thinking big, we're thinking buildings and multi-billion-dollar complexes, which could be one manifestation of it. But maybe you don't have the money to build a gigantic Wall Street. Maybe you only have the money to build a tiny Wall Street. So when I talk about guys like Tariq Nasheed and Willie D and Lamar and Ronnie Tyler and and other people that are part of Shaquita Graham and Noma Langamushali Moses and my daughter Patrice, people that are just in my clique, that's my version of a Black Wall Street. Roger Suggs is watching, aka Vigilante, one of the great activists and rappers and et cetera, and mentors in this country. That's my Black Wall Street. And so what I encourage you to do is build your own Black Wall Street by working and supporting the people that you believe in, the people that are down for you, the people that will support you the way you support them. And what happens is, if you come up short, on money, you can call your friend and say, hey, can I get a little, can you help me out a little bit? And they'll send you some money, and they don't need to look at your credit score because they know you. Or you say, hey, I need somebody to be, you're making a documentary. I need some people to help me with the documentary, but I ain't got no money to pay them. Well, somebody in your Black Wall Street will say, no problem. I'll front you on that. I'll do your documentary for you. And then and then implicitly you understand I owe you one. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I've always operated, in the sense of, when it comes to, building economically. And I still have to operate like that. I'm just on a different level in certain ways, economically, like we're at a point where we're able to pay about 20 people a month and all that. But it's still hard. It never stops being difficult because, for the amount of things that we're expected to be able to do, the money that we have is not what we need it to be. Right. But we're still going to move forward. We're still building a nation. We're still building infrastructure. Like, you can't tell me that my business is not as important as Google, Facebook, or IBM. I don't care if they have $100 billion in their bank account, or 20 billion or 50 billion, whatever it is. I have $100 billion worth of potential in my community. So in my mind, I am, and what we are is, we're as big moguls as Mark Zuckerberg. We're not secondary to anybody. And so what I want you to do is, when you start your business, when you get started, hey, how you doing, Diana and Lakita Bloxson? Lakita Bloxson is a professor down at the University of Alabama, a brilliant lady. I'm so glad that you're here. And Diana's my cousin. I mean, what else can you say about your cousin? My cousin's in my Black Wall Street. She's part of it. My cousin, I told her, my cousin came back and worked with us. She's actually the director of the Black Business School now. And I said, cuz, I'm gonna have to give you more money now, because we owe you reparations for the fact that you worked so hard for us back in the day and didn't, we weren't able to pay you what you deserve. We knew what you were worth. We knew you were worth 6 figures, and we barely had 2 figures, but she did it because, it was like, okay, this is my cousin. I know where he's at. I know him as a person, and I believe in the vision. So she came in and joined us very, very early. When I first got started, the only 2 people that were really in my corner were my brother and my cousin. That was all I had, because I couldn't afford to hire anybody. And then my assistant, Shantae, was the first person I hired, and she's been with me ever since. And I love her to death for it. And so, long story short, when you get started on your journey to entrepreneurship, your journey to power, just know that you are going to have, you're going to feel tiny. You're going to feel small. You're going to feel sloppy. Like, you're going to feel like everything's going wrong. Like, you can't, I honestly, just being real, I compare it to sloppy sex, that first time where you just kind of don't know what you're doing. You don't know where everything's at. You figure out where the parts are located, but then eventually you get in your groove and it starts to kind of work out. Well, I think that becoming an entrepreneur is kind of the same way, to be honest with you, where in the beginning, you are just like, what am I doing? This obstacle's too big for me. I'm not worthy of this. I can't handle this. This is too much pressure. But I'm gonna tell you, God built you to be stronger than you think that you are. You don't know how great you are. You really don't have any idea how great you are, because you've never seen that greatness manifest itself. You don't know what's buried in the depths of your very existence. You don't know because you never had to dig that deep. You ain't never been so desperate that you had to find a way to get money to feed your children, by the end of the day. You've never really known what it's like to feel like, okay, I got to quit this job or I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna end up wanting to jump off a bridge, and I'm not saying you want to go through that. I don't want your journey to be painful, but one thing you must understand is that typically there is no progress without struggle. If you embrace the struggle, then you must embrace if you embrace the progress, then you must embrace the struggle. You cannot move forward without there being some discomfort. You cannot move to a different zone if you are afraid to leave your comfort zone. And so what I encourage you to just kind of understand is that when you get started, you're going to mess up a lot. You're going to be scared. If you're like me, maybe you're Superman, Superwoman, but I was scared to death. I couldn't, it was hard to sleep sometimes. I'd be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I doing right now? This is crazy. A lot of my friends abandoned me, they in academia, they're not big on that whole like radical Black person stuff, and I just really didn't know how it was going to play out. But I did know, I held on to what I knew. The things that I knew was that I'm a smart person. I'm very well trained at what I do. I'm extremely hardworking. And it's not really like a discipline thing. It's that I love what I do. And when you love what you do, you'll work hard and you won't even realize you're working hard. When people talk about the work-life balance, there's sort of like work-life balance as in two words, work and life. Then there's work-life, like hyphenated. And then there's work life with like one word. Where everything's mixed together, where you don't have to sort of decide one or the other. You don't have to take work off the table in order to have more life, or take life off the table in order to do more work. You're doing both at the same time, simultaneously. And that's a conversation I had yesterday with some entrepreneurs, and they were talking about that. They said, well, we in this office, we don't wear ties, and we're pretty comfortable. And we work like crazy, but it doesn't feel like work. And I said, I know exactly what you're talking about. So what I would tell you is that if you want to be the hardest working person in the world, find a job that you just love. When you or start a business or something with your family members. If you're working on a business you love and you're working with your cousin and your girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife or your children or your parents, it's not going to really feel like work. You're going to be sitting, you're going to be like, okay, this is where I want to be. See, think about it. When you're at work, you want to go home. When you're at work, I can't wait to go home. You're fantasizing about the weekend. You can't wait to get to where you're comfortable to be around people that love you. But if you love what you do, then, and you're with people you love already, then you're going to say, well, let's just stay here. This way we can make more bread and pay the bills, and we get to bond a little more. We get to spend more time. My conversations this morning consisted of a conversation with my daughter, a conversation with my brother. These were business meetings. When I went to the Canary Islands, I was flying over there to see my brother, but we do business together. We own companies together. So we also did business. So it's a tax write-off. We could meet and we literally had business meetings the whole time. Every time he sees me, we're talking about business. And that's what I'm talking about when I say like work life. And what I want you to just kind of know is that it's not that hard to learn these things. It's just a matter of us deciding culturally that these are the things that matter. We learn the things that matter. We do the things that matter. We spend time on the things that matter. We spend money on the things that matter. I encourage you to decide that it matters and to just have faith in yourself. Confidence, I think, for Black folks is one of our challenges. I think that because we're not sure of who we are, we're not sure of what to do, we're afraid of failing, we tend to sort of follow the crowd. And when you follow the crowd will lead you off a cliff. Like I was having a great conversation with my daughter this morning, and we were talking about all these kids now that are jumping off bridges and killing themselves because they getting high on Molly or whatever. And then when they crash, they don't know how to handle the fact that the serotonin in their brain has been altered, and they're now extremely depressed. So you got kids killing themselves off of this stuff, and why are they popping these pills? Well, because their friends are doing it, or because it's being promoted, by white folks in mainstream media, right? So ultimately, You know, it's very, very important to be able to think like a leader, because the only way you can get out of the mud is if you lead yourself out of the mud. There won't be a lot of people that are going to go with you all the time. You know, there's going to be a lot of people that want you to stay in the mud, a lot of people that want you to stay broke, a lot of people that want you to stay struggling, a lot of people that want you to stay on the plantation, a lot of people that want you to stay unhappy, a lot of people that want you're happily married. They'll give you advice to make sure that your marriage gets destroyed, right? And so at the end of the day, I just encourage you to seek happiness. You know, this is not about when I talk about money, I'm really not talking about money itself, because I don't care that much about money, to be honest with you. I'm really talking about using money as a tool for fulfillment, happiness, and progress for yourself and the people that you care about. So let's make sure you know that. All right. So anyway, as I was mentioning to you guys about this car note thing, and again, if you go to BlackFinancialLiteracy.com, there's a lot of free information on there about wealth building, stuff like that. So feel free to go to BlackFinancialLiteracy.com. I was reading this article that said a record 107 million people now have car notes. And I want to show you guys the video from my friend D1, who I think is one of the greatest rappers on this earth. And D1 actually did a song called No Car Note. And it's like, I ain't got no car, no. And I thought it was great. And I said, that's a brilliant song. And basically what he's doing was he was rapping about the fact that he's invented the new swag for him, the new swag for hip hop. His new swag is, no, I'm not going to impress you by rolling up in a Bentley or some Ferrari or whatever, some car that either I can't afford or that's a waste of money. I'm going to impress you by letting you know that I'm going to drive up in a 98 Honda Accord with smoke coming out the back, and I'm still going to be the man. Why? Well, because I'm not the man because of the car I got. That's artificial. That ain't nothing but a fucking costume. He says, I'm the man because I'm brilliant, because I can flow, because he has charisma. He's a great human being. He's a very energetic person, and he's building and elevating his community and the people he loves. That's what makes you a man. That car does not make you no man. That car makes you, it can unfortunately make you appear to be somebody who's masking a deep set of insecurities because you think you need these artificial constructs to make you feel like you're better than other people. So anyway, let me go into this. I'm not making fun of anybody who has a car now or a car note. A lot of people do. If you have one, join the club. A lot of people do. But I just want you to know about this. And so basically on CNN Money, they're saying that Americans went on a massive shopping spree for cars and trucks in recent years. Many pay for their vehicles by taking out a loan. A record 107 million Americans have auto loan debt. According to data released this week by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, that's 43%. 43% of the entire adult population in America. That has never been true ever in the history of this country. Never in the history of this country has that many people been indebted over a fucking car. It's an eye-popping number. Auto loans, this is what the article's saying. Auto loans have been growing rapidly. In early 2012, only 80 million Americans had car loans. Oh, in 2012, only 80 million Americans. Now it's up to 107 million. In fact, more Americans had home mortgages than auto loans in 2012, but all that has changed. Today, the number of auto loans far outpaces home loans. It helps explain how car makers have had year after year of record sales. Car sales notched another all-time high in 2016, though lately the buying frenzy seems to be over. Okay, so thank God people are starting to slow down. And now here's the flip side. Here's the dark side of, the high and the excitement of signing the car note and getting the new car. Well, here's that dark side of that. 6 million Americans are behind on their car payments. Americans don't need to buy new cars every year, and an alarming number of people can't afford to pay their car loans. There are 6 million Americans who are 90 days or more behind on their car payment, according to the data. That puts them in danger of having their car or truck repossessed. Now I know that. I know what that feels like, because I've had a truck repossessed, and it's funny because since that time, I never, it's really crazy. When I first started my business, my money got so bad that literally I had to give my truck back because I couldn't afford to pay for it. And it was tough. It was really tough. But the funny thing is that I never got a car after that. I still, to this now I can buy a car. I can buy, I can buy a lot. I can buy a nice car if I want one. But I don't want a car. I'm like, why do I want a car note? Like, why don't know? Like, so sometimes when you lose, something, you realize that you didn't actually need it in the first place. You know, it's like when I get banned from Facebook. You know, I had to switch or move our social media over because we got banned. We kept getting banned from Facebook, and every time I would get suspended, I would be mad at first, but then I'd be like, I feel okay. Now I can start living again. Now I feel human again. Now I don't feel attached to social media anymore. And I started doing research on how social media is designed to be addictive. I'm gonna tell you what, Facebook is evil. Facebook, we all use it. A lot of us use it, but they actually are designed to get you addicted to the social media. So it's kind of ironic that I'm saying that as I'm using the social media, but it just is what it is. I'm just telling you the truth. If you do the research on it, they say that social media is the new cigarettes of this generation. So I encourage you to have times where you just shut off your cell phone, where you just literally take your phone, just turn it off, and go do something else. And what'll happen is it'll kind of like relax you a little bit, if you haven't done this already. So anyway, let me keep going. So so not having a car note was actually a huge relief. You know, it was inconvenient to not have a car for a little while, but then I found ways around it. And then when I finally had the money to get a car again, I was like, you know, I really don't want to spend my money on a car. A car is a bad investment. You know, it's crazy that more Americans have car loans than mortgages. It shouldn't be that way. A car is a depreciating asset. A car is not something that's going to benefit you in 10 years. A car is going to be something that will represent a huge waste of time. And nobody gets cars promoted to them more than African American people. The African American community gets car loans promoted to them more than anybody. And many of those loans are predatory. And also, I want you one day when you're watching BET or TV1 or something like that, car companies love to market their vehicles to Black people because Black people are huge consumers. We really care a lot about how good we look driving that new Buick Sable or Mercury. I don't even know Buick, whatever. That Buick, the Sable. I don't know if Buick Sable is a brand, but y'all know what I'm talking about. You know, you pretty much have this thing where they know that Black people care more about looking good than actually being good. You know, we actually, and I'm talking about being good in terms of being good financially, being in good financial shape. We will put ourselves in bad financial shape so we can look like we're in good financial shape. So a lot of times for Black people, wealth, the way we manage our wealth it reminds me a lot of synchronized swimming. You know, synchronized swimming is a sport where on the surface, everything looks beautiful. Everything's moving in sync, you know, the legs and they're fluttering at the same time and flowing. It's beautiful to watch. But have you ever seen where they put the camera under the water, and when you go under the water underneath the surface and you're seeing what what's actually happening? Well, there's total chaos. They're flipping and they're doing all kinds of stuff just to maintain the image that they're displaying on top of the water. You follow me? So a lot of times, a lot of us are in that situation where, and again, it links to your self-esteem. It's psychological. Money is hugely psychological. When I got my PhD, my expertise was in financial psychology. So I became deeply fascinated. And me and my grandma used to talk about financial psychology, believe it or not. I wrote an article for Essence Magazine, and I asked my grandma, like I said, so give me some old school, you know, thoughts on money. Because my grandma was just a gangster when it came to managing her money. She did not mess around. And so anyway, she said that money is a mindset. She said, if you think like you're poor, then you're going to be poor. If you think like you're doing well, then you're going to eventually do well. She said, if you think like a saver, you're going to have money. If you think like a spender, you're going to be broke. You know, and I thought about that. And literally the research kind of confirmed what my grandma kind of knew on an instinctual level, because she didn't have a PhD in finance or anything. But she actually introduced me to savings bonds and compound interest. She didn't explain it to me. She just showed me the bond. And I saw that the bond said $100 on it. I was like, well, is that worth $100? She said, no, I bought it for $50. I'm like, well, how did you buy it for 50 when it says 100? And she explained how it would grow and become worth $100 in 7 or 8 years. This was back when bonds used to actually pay interest. And so long story short, you know, money is hugely about mindset. You know, money is really about your mindset. So at the end of the day, you know, when you talk about trying to get where you want to get to, you got to look at, you know, who you are as a person on a very deep level. When you're spending money, you probably have to look at why you're spending it. There's a lot of emotional spending that takes place. It tends to happen a little more among women than men, but men have we have a lot of our own vices, believe me. A lot of men get cheated on by their wives because they screwed up the money. When I wrote my book, Financial Lovemaking, a decade ago, I interviewed a lot of people, a lot of couples, and I heard from a lot of women who literally felt that when their man was messing up the money, that he didn't deserve to, to be their man. Like she was less sexually attracted to him because she felt financially insecure. She didn't feel comfortable. So anyway, my belief is that if you want to, not my belief, this is something I've, studied. If you really want to kind of get a grip on your spending, you must understand why you're doing it. If you're buying, if you need that Gucci purse, you have to ask yourself, what does this Gucci purse really do for me? Why do I spend this money on the Gucci purse? Why did I buy? If I need those Jordans, like what's driving this right now? If I need to get my hair done, but I'll spend money getting my hair done, but I won't spend the same amount of money on my child's tutoring program. You have to check yourself a little bit and say, wait a minute, does this even make sense? Is this logical? Most spending is emotional, and that's how they get you. They know that most spending is driven by what they call impulse buys. You don't sit around and analyze it and break down the numbers and get on the phone and say, hey, Dr. Boyce, can you tell me if this expenditure makes sense and do the math to show me that it does? Most people don't do that. Most people go in there, they see the clothes or they see the car and they're like, oh, I want that. You fall in love. It becomes an emotional experience. And then they say, I got you. I got her. Or I got him. And you test drive the car. That's why they want you to test drive it, feel it, imagine yourself in it, and then at that point you'll spend any amount of money in order to have it. I would be willing to bet you that buying a car is not much different from a man spending money on a prostitute. It's the same sort of thing, release of endorphins that comes with spending, etc. I call that black financial addiction, and actually, but an addiction is different from a craving. But I'll break all that down to you later on because we don't have a lot of time today. Let's see. Donetta Janelle says, I have several professional friends with 17% interest loans for a car note and would be willing to do a higher percentage just to get the car. I have a 2% interest rate on the car. Good for you. Good for you. I'm very proud of you. Donnetta's a very smart lady on my Facebook page, and I don't know her that well, but I respect her. And I think that it's and she makes a good point. A lot of us think that more educated black people are immune to this. They think that, if you talk about economic dysfunction, that you're talking about poor people. And that's not true. A lot of times, the most dysfunctional people are the people that have the education and have the money. They maybe think about this. This is why a lot of people who have master's degrees and PhDs and MBAs, etc., never get a chance to become millionaires. They never get a chance to become millionaires because, well, not all of them, but they never get a chance to become millionaires because I have to write. When I have a thought, I have to write it down because I'll literally forget. Because good thoughts will come in mind. I'll be like, "Oh, that's a good way to explain that," and I literally have to write it down like right then, or I'll forget, and I get so mad about that. But they never get a chance to become millionaires for the following reasons. Number one, when you go to school that long, you're going to have a ton of debt. So you come out with $250,000 in debt. So you're already starting the race way behind. Now, obviously, you got that high-paying job now. You got the hoity-toity job working with all the white people. So you're making $80,000, $100,000 a year. So you could pay the debt off. But are you really going to do that? Most people don't. A lot of times what people will do is they'll take the money and they will then feel pressured to live a certain lifestyle. And that lifestyle comes with a costume. The costume consists of maybe, $500,000 suits. It may come with, a $30,000, $40,000 car. It comes with going out to dinner 3-4 times a week at expensive, fancy restaurants. It comes with being the financial savior for your whole family. You become a family bank that is undercapitalized. And what I mean by that is, you're still living paycheck to paycheck, but your relatives still come to you for money because you got the biggest paycheck, because neither you nor your relatives have spent a lot, maybe perhaps, again, not judging, but it's true, have not spent much time thinking about what wealth really means. What does it really mean to be financially secure? What does it really mean to have wealth? Instead, you only think about income. So because your income's high, I'm doing good. I have a job. I make $130,000 a year. So I become the family bank. So you're doling out money left and right. And instead of doing, investments with relatives, you're doing charity. You're thinking that you're helping people by giving them money, which actually a lot of the theory says that the worst way to help somebody is to keep giving them charity forever. There's a documentary you should watch called Poverty Inc. Poverty Inc. is on YouTube, and Poverty Inc. explains how African countries are kept in poverty because they keep giving them charity. Because everybody wants everything free. The Black community has that problem. How often, if you're a Black business owner, I want to ask you this: how often do you have Black people give you pushback because they feel like your product should be free? That it's not possible in the minds of some. In a welfare mentality, it's not possible in the minds of some for you to charge a fair price for your product and care about the Black community at the same time. Because in their minds, they're thinking, if you care about the Black community, you'll give them charity. But now they don't ask white folks for charity. When they go to Walmart, Target, Kmart, to the movies and buy Jordans, whatever, they're not asking for charity. Then they'll go to Popeye's Chicken and they know they got to pull out $7.95 for that value meal. But when they go to a Black business, it's like, well, that should be free. You sell, like, I go through it every I hear it probably about once a week, literally, because I get 1,000 emails a day, and at least I say more than once a week. I say about 5 times a week. I'll have somebody that will say that, if you really care about Black people, you'll give everything away for free. And that really shows a lack of economic maturity, because what it's saying is that that somehow you're still able to run a business and pay all this person has no understanding of just how many thousands of dollars it costs to run a business, what it costs to pay your employees, what it costs to keep your, even if you got a website, you got to pay money to keep it running. If you have a good website with a lot of traffic, then your hosting fees on your website can be in the thousands of dollars every month. We probably spend, I'd say if you look at like just maintaining digital infrastructure, it probably costs us about $6,000 a month just to maintain our digital infrastructure, just the websites and the engineers and stuff that have to keep everything moving. It's really, really difficult. So anyway, so let's go deeper. So we're talking about that middle class educated person who ends up in a financial hole, who will never have a chance to be a millionaire. Here's another reason that they typically don't get a chance to become millionaires, because most people that become millionaires, they get there one of two ways. They either get there through consistent long-term investing, like you're stacking money in your 401k and IRA over many, many years, or they get there through entrepreneurship. You build a business, the business gets strong, your business is making an extra $300,000-$400,000 a year, which really is not a lot for a business. If you have a tiny business that makes $500,000 a year, and then suddenly you're able to kind of boost yourself and boost your family into the upper echelon. Because you understand economic engines from top to bottom, you're now a job creator for the people that you care about. So for myself, for example, I don't really like to do charity with relatives. I probably come off like Uncle Scrooge when they come asking me, hey boys, can you give me something? No, I don't do that. What I say is, I can give you a job. I can give you your dignity by letting you work for this money, so you don't feel like I owe you, or that you owe me. I can give you some training in the meantime while you're working with me. I'll teach you everything I know, so that when you're done, you'll be better equipped to take care of yourself. I make my kids, when they come and work with me, when we go on tour, I make them sit through. When I do the stock market class, I say, I don't know, no, y'all ain't going nowhere, and get off your damn phone. Pay attention. I want y'all to know this stuff. If y'all don't know this stuff, then I haven't done my job. And basically, the thinking is that I'm thinking not so much about charity. I don't want to really do charity over the long term. Charity doesn't sustain much of anything. It's not bad. I mean, it's good. It feels good. But the question is, should you really put somebody in a wheelchair when their legs work perfectly fine? What happens when you take a person who's got good, healthy legs and you put them in a wheelchair? Well, eventually their muscles atrophy. They eventually start to not, they lose their ability to walk. And so suddenly you've got this grown-ass man who's feeling like the world owes him something, And so ultimately you got to just think about what you're creating when you're dealing with people when it comes to money. So that middle-class person who's got the good job and all the master's degrees, they don't get a chance to become a millionaire, because they're usually not going to become an entrepreneur because you got the degree. So, for you, it's easier to get a job than it is to start a business. A lot of the people I know that become entrepreneurs, the grimy ones that get out here and really build, are the ones who got pushed into that situation. It's like war. A lot of times people become soldiers, or they become good at warfare because they get called into battle, not because they grew up wanting to fight. So basically, I got called into battle. I was having problems with my job. So I was like, shoot, I got to get out of here, man. I think entrepreneurship might be my pathway out. So I learned all that. I don't know if I would have been as eager to be an entrepreneur if things had been comfortable, if I knew I could just get another job making more money, because that's an easier route in some ways if you've already got it, So I personally think it will be the marginalized people that will lift the community up. It'll be the broke, struggling people that'll lift us up. It'll be the former prison inmates who are tired of working at fast food restaurants and getting chump change, every day. Those are going to be the people that are going to really build, I think, for the next generation. Unfortunately, the educated class, whatever you want to call it, they're probably not really going to build much of anything because they kind of got a track that they're put on. The track is one that's sort of built more so on assimilation. You're being integrated into the system. You're being pretty well taken care of relative to the masses. And what's the shortcoming of that model, though, is that it's not trickling back to the community, and except maybe a little charity, a couple of dollars every now and then, but it's not really coming back to the masses. So you have an entire community that gets abandoned because there's a brain drain. The smartest Black people being pulled away from the Black community. So a lot of those people that get all the education, they don't have a high likelihood of being millionaires. Many of them never get out of debt. A lot of them don't have the discipline to really save for their retirement like they should, because again, they want to get the Buick LeSabre, the Mercury Sable. By the way, thank you to who pointed that out. They corrected me on my Buick Sable statement earlier, but they end up in an economic trap. So if you really want to know who's most likely to become millionaires, in my opinion, based on my research, it's the people who are taught to start businesses at an early age and those who are consistent investors. If a person is a consistent investor, and if they're really even lucky enough to have parents that start investing for them from birth, like parents who put $5 a day into a stock portfolio for the child, and if the parent really is ambitious and they put, let's say they put $20 a day, which is still about the amount of money you spend going to lunch if you have a job, because you're already doing it somewhere. You're probably already putting $10, $20 a day into something. You just prioritize that more than you prioritize the long term, because the long term is what you can't see. We tend to have an out of sight, out of mind perspective on life. You don't see the future, so you don't care about the future. But the future's coming, whether we see it or not. You don't see your great grandchildren, so you're maybe not thinking about them, but they're coming. They're going to be here, and they're going to need that money, right? And so ultimately, the ability to build, the ability to develop a nation requires you to have a level of vision that a lot of people don't have. It also requires you to have a little bit of insanity, because there's no logical reason for anybody to really think Black people will emerge as the victors in the economic, in the competitive game of global economics. And I probably am able to see that a little more, not just because I understand it more, but because I'm so good at it. It seems easy to me. It seems very straightforward to me. So it's a lot like, an NBA player, who's 6'10", he's watching a basketball game where his team's getting their butt kicked, and everybody else is like, man, we can't beat this other team. They're too good. And he's like, no, we can beat them. Like, we just have to go play hard. We got to work on our game. Let's do this and do that, and so that's probably what ends up happening in terms of the difference in terms of how I might see it versus how a lot of people might see it. So what I chose to do was to, basically allow people to be my teammate if that's what you want to do. So even if your game ain't what you want it to be, it's okay. You got Michael Jordan on your team. I'm playing. Maybe I'm not Michael Jordan, but when you get a PhD, you know a lot of stuff. So because we're on the same team, it doesn't matter what you know, because if we hang out and we're talking, then eventually what I know is going to be what you know, and then at that point, or maybe if you trust, if you say, oh, well, I don't play as well as this guy over here, but I'm gonna, he's gonna be the captain of the team, and I'm gonna follow the captain because I believe what he's saying. Then you can still find a way to win the game. And so what I think for Black people, and as I read this article, and I look at this, and I see kind of what's happening in terms of debt, car loans, things like that, these very bad economic decisions. One thing you must understand is that this is not just Black people who are making these poor choices. Black people are more vulnerable, but this is everybody. All Americans are economically crazy. All Americans are making bad decisions when it comes to money. Most Americans are not investing in the stock market. Most Americans are not building long-term wealth. So what I think is the opportunity for Black people, for a segment of the community, I'm talking about just maybe, it might be just 20% of the Black community. I don't really, y'all know I'm going on the Breakfast Club next week, and I'm going to talk to everybody, and I invite everybody to kind of listen, to whatever it is I'm sharing. But truth be told, when I go on the Breakfast Club next week, I'm not really trying to get everybody to believe what I'm saying. I'm not, because I believe what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying. I've seen it. But what I'm trying to do is get maybe like 20%. If I get 20% of Black people to take this seriously and to say, okay, I'm not just listen and learn. You do that for a while, but honestly, that's kind of where you're still in the infancy stages of where you're trying to go. The first step, like for example, in the LEAP model of family wealth building, remember it's learn, expound, execute, protect. That's the model that we talk about. The first stages are when you learn, so in a way you're look like a baby. A baby's born, a baby doesn't, contribute to the household. The baby can't cook food or clean the kitchen. The baby's just eating, sleeping, and shitting basically, right? So basically in the beginning, we all start off, anything that we do this new, we all start off as a baby. So we're just consuming information. We're just being convinced and persuaded that this is going to work, that I believe in this, right? But then once you get past that stage, you must go deeper. The expound component means to go into greater detail. Expound means to go into greater detail. So once you kind of know, like, okay, this what this guy's saying, it could be true. Or I want this for me. You wouldn't do it. Don't ever do anything for me. I ain't nobody. I'm talking about do it for you and do it for the people you love. Think about that little girl you got who's looking up to you because you're her daddy, or that son you have who depends on you, or your family members, etc., who are looking for a way to improve their lives. So at that point, you must expound. You are the leader. You may not be much where in your own mind, but you might be all that your family has. You might be the most enlightened person in your entire family. And enlightenment requires you to have the patience to deal with people that are less mature in their journey. A lot of people are going to doubt you from the beginning. A lot of people aren't going to believe you. They're going to say you're stupid. They're going to say this doesn't make any sense, or they're going to say I just don't want to do it, or whatever. They're going to laugh at you because you're too serious. But you have to be the kind of the parent in this. You're the leader. So the parent, think about how a parent deals with a child when a child's talking crazy, right? Some parents don't know how to handle it. Like if they got a teenage daughter who's acting out and acting crazy, and they'll get all mad at her, like, well, if you don't like me, then I don't like you, and I don't want to talk to you. But really, what a good parent would do is they say, you know what, she's just emotional right now. So I'm just gonna be consistent, right? That's what you do, because you're like, oh, she's a kid, she don't know what she's talking about, right? So honestly, in the beginning, a lot of people are going to resist things because they kind of are addicted to a certain way of thinking that really has not worked. I don't think anybody can ever argue in any sort of logical framework that what Black people have done to this point has actually worked. We know it has not worked. We know integration did not give us what we wanted. It got us something. It changed. It made some things better, some things worse. How you see it is dependent upon you. But it certainly, we know we lost a lot. We know we lost Black excellence. We lost Black institutions. Our Black families were crushed. We lost our ability to build things of our own, to create jobs, things like that. And so basically I would just say that, just very simply put, it's important to try something different. So when we try something different, I would say that if you are an early adopter of any of these ideas, you're going to be a little bit of the oddball in your family. So, but in the LEAP model, learn, expound, execute, protect. When you expound, that's when you're making a plan. That's when you start to really put your feet to the fire and be critical of yourself. Critical of yourself means you must ask yourself, okay, I know I'm talking about it, but am I actually living the life that I say I'm going to live? Am I actually becoming the person that I say I want to be? Am I actually, executing the action steps that are consistent with the value system that I claim to have? Or am I a person who still has not allowed his habits or to catch up with his rhetoric, right? Because habits are tough. It takes at least 30 days to change a habit. And so what will happen is you'll see a lot of people where their mind will be ahead of their body. So they will say, okay, I want to do this. Like me, when I was trying to lose weight, I was like, yeah, I'm going to lose weight. But I would be saying that with a cheeseburger in one hand and a cookie in the other, right? So I had not yet reconciled my actions with my rhetoric. So eventually I was like, I think that in order for me to lose weight, I need to put down the cheeseburger, put down the cookies, and start eating some vegetables and fruit. That's what I started doing. Then I started doing a little exercise. I didn't do anything crazy. I just started, doing a little bit here and there. And next thing you know, the weight started falling off, right? So in the LEAP model, LEEP, it's learn, expound, execute, protect. So expounding is when you form your plan. What am I going to do on a day-to-day basis is going to change my life. I don't care if you ain't got a pot to piss and ain't got two nickels to rub together. Damn it, you take care of those two nickels. You know, because those two nickels will turn into two dimes, and those two dimes will turn into two quarters. That's how wealth is built. Wealth is grown the same way a seed grows into a tree, or a seed can grow into a flower, or whatever. So you must, if you don't respect the seed, then you will never have the tree. If you do not see the value in the seed, then you will see no value in the tree. If you look at your seed and you say, man, all I got is a little damn seed, that ain't nothing compared to a tree, then what you're showing is that you have no understanding of nature. You have no understanding of how things work in the universe. Everything great starts off as something small. The entire universe started as in the Big Bang, allegedly. That's what the scientists say. I'm sure they have a new theory in the future, but the entire universe started with something that was microcosmically small, or microscopically small. Microcosmically, microscopic. You know, I guess I was thinking about the cosmos, but you get the point. It started as something incredibly small that you can't imagine growing into something as vast and as amazing as it is today. So your life, your future, your family empire that you're going to have in 100 years that you'll never see requires you, number one, to have the extensive vision to see it. I visualize my family empire all the time, every day. I visualize like coming to America. You know, I love that image of King Jaffe, and I just say, man, that's a proud black man. James Earl Jones, he's like, let them wait, you know, and he's like this strong father figure, and he's running his domain, and he's telling his children, I will send you to America to find your queen. You know, it's very just majestic and proud and powerful and wonderful. And I feel like black people, you know, I think that pride, it doesn't take a lot to get to the point where you can have that same kind of pride. I know I have that pride. I love as a father to be able to gather my children and to be able to implement policy in my family, to be able to say, to know that I've earned their respect as an advisor, because I don't think children and young people, women, men, I don't think anybody respects a man who doesn't have some kind of strength. So they know I'm strong. They know I don't play. They know that their daddy's educated. They know their daddy works hard. They know their daddy has resources. They know their daddy can make things happen. And that's something I'm very, very proud of. You know, and I believe it's something a lot of black men can have. I think that we just, unfortunately, we have our self-esteem zapped from us at an early age. Our testosterone is zapped. Our masculinity is killed at an early age. So you got little, you know, men running around here like little boys, pants sagging, wearing rompers, looking like women, you know, and I just think that that's an unhealthy thing. I'm not saying that, you know, and this has nothing to do with being gay or not. I mean, I don't care about that. I'm talking about, we need some of the men to be strong. I mean, somebody has to be some kind of leader or some sort of support system or security system for black. I mean, seriously, so, I would say that, to see the family empire, you got to have the vision to see it, and you got to be willing to plant the seeds. See, because if you can visualize the tree, then you will want to plant the seed. You will treasure the seed, because you will see the seed as something, that's incredibly valuable, something that will eventually grow into a tree. If you can't see the tree, then you're going to throw all your seeds away and then wonder why you don't have any trees in your house or in your backyard. So let's grow trees. That's the Black Wall Street. The Black Wall Street is a tree that can be grown, but it's going to take time. That means consistent investment. That means smart financial decision making. That means learning the basics of wealth. That means making sure your children are good. Another model that we have that we teach in our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program is what they call the KID model. I'm actually going to talk about this tomorrow. I'm in Philadelphia. Michelle Martin and her husband Anthony invited me in to speak to kids about wealth. And the model that I share with them is the KID model. KID stands for it's KID. It stands for knowledge, investment, and discipline. And it basically is a blueprint on how to turn your child into a millionaire, or give them a very high probability of becoming a millionaire by the time they're 35 to 40 years old. And I'm not making it up. It's mathematically proven. The thing about wealth that's really beautiful is that almost any person can build a very strong amount of wealth or a strong amount of financial security if you give them enough time. When you give something enough time, almost anything can happen. And so that's why Einstein called compound interest the most powerful force in the universe, because even he, a mathematical expert, was fascinated with how much money can grow if you give it enough time. So anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm about to go, guys. By the way, if you want a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, please go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. Also, if you're interested, some of y'all have asked me about becoming a public speaker. If you're interested in becoming a speaker or being trained to be a speaker, please check out greatprospeakers.com. That's greatprospeakers.com. They're actually giving the first month away free for those who are watching the podcast. So if you want to learn how to become a speaker, the whole business of speaking and making money as a speaker, go to greatprospeakers.com. A lot of my scholar friends are always looking to find ways to give speeches. And what's unfortunate is they don't understand the business side of it. Nobody really cares a whole lot that you got an advanced degree. You have to make them care. There's a way you set up your business and you set up your model to make it work. And then finally, if you're interested in our wealth building program for children or the Black Wealth Boot Camp that we have for adults or any of that stuff, everything's reasonably and fairly priced. Please go to BlackFinancialLiteracy.com. That's BlackFinancialLiteracy.com. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Don't forget the All Black National Convention, September 29th through October 1st. Dr. Kevin Cosby of Simmons College and HBCU in Kentucky is revved up and ready. I'm even bringing a few rapper friends. I've been talking to a few of them, and so I think I might bring some of them in, but also bring in the activist scholars, and we'll even bring some pastors in because I think the Black church can and should be an important part of the nation building that we're going to do in the future. And I don't want the community dissing the church on a mass scale basis. I'm not gonna lie, I don't go to church. I just don't want to. I like football, I don't know. But I respect what some of the pastors are doing. I can say that I've seen pastors that, like Dr. Kevin Cosby in Kentucky, who actually are able to structure models where the entire community benefits and not just the church. So I think that that's going to be part of the solution. So let's focus on the solution. Let's not just dwell on the problem. You dwell on the problem only long enough to come up with a solution. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Peace.